Capital management is the intentional allocation of resources to ensure your financial assets are working towards specific objectives. It is the process of moving from a passive relationship with money, where you react to the bills and the blank balances, to an active one where you direct every dollar with a purpose. At its core, capital management is about maintaining liquidity for daily operations while strategically positioning excess funds for growth. This practice transforms money from a source of stress into a tool for stability. Resource allocation principles. Capital is any resource that can be used to generate value. In a personal or family context, this includes your cash, your credit capacity, and your time. Managing capital effectively requires you to view your household as a small business. A business does not simply spend what it earns, it allocates funds based on the priority, risk, and return. When you apply this mindset, you stop viewing your paycheck as a spending limit and they start viewing it as operating capital. The first principle of allocation is visibility. You cannot manage what you do not measure. Most people struggle with financial control not because they lack income, but because their resources are scattered across various accounts, subscriptions, and impulsive decisions. To establish a baseline, you must aggregate your financial data to see the total flow of capital entering and exiting your world each month. Identifying unmanaged areas. Financial leakage occurs in the gaps of where decision making is absent. To regain control, you must audit your current habits to find the capital that is being spent rather than allocated. Look for these common managed areas. Subscription fatigue. Reoccurring payments for services you no longer use or value represent a drain on your capital. These are often small amounts that, when totaled, represent a significant annual loss of investment potential. Unstructured debt payments. Paying only the minimum on credit cards or loans without a clear timeline for elimination is a sign of unmanaged capital. In this scenario, your capital is working for the lender's growth instead of your own. Impulse friction. This refers to the gap between you. I'm gonna assassinate everybody. Impulse friction. This refers to the gap between a desire and a purchase. If you frequently make purchases without checking your budget or long-term goals, that segment of your capital is essentially unmanaged. It is reacting to an emotion rather than a plan. Idle cash. While having a cushion is necessary, keeping excessive amounts of money in a standard checking account with zero interest is a form of mismanagement. This capital is losing purchasing power to inflation every day it remains stagnant. Establishing a financial baseline. Before you can implement advanced frameworks like the 50-30-20 rule, you must know your starting point. This baseline is a snapshot of your current reality, stripped of any aspirations or should be scenarios. To build this baseline, perform the following steps. Calculate fixed monthly outflow. List every expense that does not change, such as rent, mortgage, insurance, and utility minimums. This is your cost of staying alive. Review variable spending. Look at your bank statements from the last 90 days. Average your spending on groceries, dining out, and entertainment. This is where most of your management opportunities lie. Total net income. Determine exactly how much moves into your accounts after taxes. For those with fluctuating income, use the average of your lowest 3 months over the last year to create a safe baseline. Identify the surplus. Subtract your total outflows from your net income. If your number is 0 or negative, your first task in capital management is reducing outflows. If the number is positive, this is the active capital you're looking for, and you will learn to deploy in future lessons. The psychology of intentionality. Capital management is as much of a psychological shift as it is a mathematical one. It requires moving from a scarcity mindset, where you fear there isn't enough, to a management mindset, where you ensure that what you have is used efficiently. When you decide that every dollar has a job, you remove the decision fatigue associated with daily spending. You no longer have to wonder if you can afford a purchase. The allocation you have already set provides the answer. Consider the difference between garden and wild field. A field grows whatever seeds land on it, often resulting in weeds and chaos. A garden is managed. The gardener decides where the water goes, which plants are prioritized, and where the boundaries are. Your finances are the garden. Without management or structure, your resources will naturally drift toward the path of least resistance, which usually is consumption. By establishing a baseline and identifying unmanaged areas, you are clearing the ground and build a sustainable financial structure. Practical execution of control. To move from theory to practice, you must implement checkpoints for your capital. This involves a weekly review of your accounts. This is not a deep dive into accounting, which we will cover in Module 2, but a simple pulse check. Ask yourself, did my spending this week align with my priorities? Are there any unexpected charges that need to be addressed immediately? How much active capital is remaining for the rest of the month? This level of awareness prevents the end of the month surprise where you realize your resources have vanished without a clear trace. By maintaining the baseline and staying aware of your unmanaged areas, you create the discipline required to handle more complex financial strategies. Management is a skill that scales. If you can manage $100 with precision, you can manage $100,000 with the same clarity. Control begins with the admission that every cent requires a destination. I'm glad you made it with this one. I'll see you on the next one.